because you need to specify this is static and what the type of the argument is, right? Argument is integer, right? So this is the way that you call your static method. If it was non-static, generic any of these, right? You could just say print x. But since it is static, you have to put name of the class, followed by dot, followed by type, followed by, and this is a type of your argument. It's a little bit ugly, but that's really simple. Following is the way that you're calling your static generic. You have to use the name of the class, followed by dot, followed by name of the class is demo. See that? The demo dot. It means this belongs to this class, right? Yes.
Well, what about, can you make like no static method?
Of course, I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give you a lot of non-static methods. So you don't have to, if it is non-static, you just remove the word static.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Now, last week, yes, I'm sorry, Maria.
Can we put instead of E extend object, for example, E implement some interface to imitate the generic?
I'm going to get into that tonight. You're a little bit ahead of me, okay? This is the subject that I'm going to cover tonight. Guys, first of all, last week I brought up the subject of comparable, you remember? And comparator, you remember?
Yes.
A couple of students sent me email and said, Abbas, you covered this subject very fast and skipped over this. We could not catch up. Give us some examples. Sure. I'm going to give you some live example right in front of you guys to show you how we could take care of it in generics, okay? I'm going to make a simple class called demo, and I'm going to use a comparable to see what I'm talking about. Let's make it. Let's make very simple class and see what's happening. Can I delete this guy, this stuff, guys? Did you take notes? Okay. So I'm going to call this again class demo. Okay. Public static demo. I'm gonna make a simple method in this class. Simple method. This method finds the largest of two items. We call it max. Max of two items. Max of 5 and 9. Of course, it's 9, right? Max of Alex and David. God knows which one is max. Max of Mercedes with BMW. God knows which one is the max. Okay, so we need to make this generic class and generic method. Okay, so first of all, as you see, this is not a generic class. It's just there. Okay, let's leave it like that because I don't need that to be generic. But the method which I'm going to make is generics. Okay. That gives you a very good example that not all of the classes should be generic, okay, and not all of the methods in those classes should be generic. There is no relationship between them. You could have generic class, non-generic method. Okay. You could have non-generic class, but generic method. And also you could have generic class, generic method. All combinations are allowed. Following? Okay. So this is an example of non-generic class, okay? Public static extends comparable E. It's becoming very ugly, right? Sorry for that, I have not invented this complaint to work. Max E01 comma E02. We have a method is called max, okay, that finds max of two items. It has two arguments, O1 and O2, right? Type of them, both what? E, okay? And E has a limitation because because I cannot simply put E. I want to make a limitation, okay? This limitation says, okay, if type of E matches with comparable, this is acceptable. Otherwise, it's not going to be acceptable, okay? Because we are comparing item against item, right? Against item. How can I compare Mercedes against BMW, right? How can I compare Apple against Orange, right? So whatever comparable dictates should be acceptable. It means somehow I need to take care of comparable here inside, right? Comparable is going to tell me if these items are really comparable. It means you could compare against each other or not, okay? So this is very important. And you see something like that very often from now on, okay? When I talk about containers and containers in general, very often I'm going to use this, okay? So slowly I'm going to take you into this field. Let me show you how this could be done, okay? Return O1 dot you remember I said comparable has a method compare to. It's greater than 0, return O1, otherwise return O2. This is the max that I have made, okay? Compare to, because compare to is the only method of comparable. If it is comparing, if it's a greater than, return O1, otherwise return what? O2, okay?
It's greater than 0, you could?
Greater than, yes.
Okay.
Because you remember last week I said
Always never turn
it
1
should-
or,
when
yeah.
if they are equal, you should return 0.
0.
If it is greater than or less than, right?
Yeah.
So if it is, in this example, if it is greater than 0, return it. Whatever else is what? Okay?
Got it.
So this is the way that I want it. You could just make up any kind of comparison method which you want. But the simplest one is this, okay? My point is something else. I'm going to go back to this in a moment, okay? Now, I have made this, right? Let's use it. Can I say demo dot max, because this is generic, right? Demo dot max. Good, comma, bad.
You have to. No, because string doesn't belong to a comparable, right?
Well, good and bad are compatible because they are strength. System automatically is going to compare them, right? The reason that the system compares them, the system compares some of the examples in my notes are very long, and we don't have that much time to talk about it. Okay? Okay. Last time I gave you the example of statistics, stats, right? Do you remember? Okay, so I gave you that example. Okay, now, this was something that I wanted to talk about. When you are talking about generics, there is a very important rule in generics. This is called GPP rule. Okay, GPP rule. GPP stands for get and put principle. Okay, stands for get and put principle. Get and put principle, GPP. Okay? GPP. I briefly explained to you last time what it is. I'm going to repeat myself. Whenever we are trying to make limitation by using extend or by using super, do you remember? We are using extend or super for making limitations. It's right in front of you. We extend this, okay? Whenever you want to make limitation, okay? We are using extend or we are using super. When are we using extend and when are we using super? I mentioned it last time. Whenever we are getting value from the container, whenever we are getting value from a container, we are using extend. Whenever we are putting value to our container, we are using what? We are using super. Okay? We are using super whenever we are putting value, and whenever we are getting value, we are using what? Extend. Okay? Extend for get value, and super for put value. Okay? That is very simple rule, but you need to learn it. Okay? And this is called GPP rule. Okay? GPP rule. Get and put principle. Using extend and using super. Right? Okay. Let's look at this. Covered all of these. I want to write the very small class for you, okay? This class give you a little bit more information about generics, okay? See what's happened. This is the shortest example I have in my notes. I was looking for a very short one, but minimum 30, 40 lines. I don't have enough ink for 30, 40, so I found the smallest one finally. So let's talk about this. This is going to help us a lot to learn how to make generic methods. In my opinion, the hardest part in generics is making methods, generic methods, okay? Let me show you how you could do it. How to make generic. And after that, I'm going to answer to all of your questions, okay? As demo generic method or methods, okay? This example shows you how to make generic method, okay? As you see, the class itself is not generic. If it was, you could have done it like that, okay? But this is not a generic class, right? You don't need to have a generic class, okay? So, static T comma V extends T. I'm going to tell you what it is in a moment. Boolean is in Tx, comma, V. First of all, let's understand what this line is, okay? If you don't understand it, any attempt to continue is just wasting time, right? Okay, first of all, let's try to understand what it is. This is the static method, right? It has two different types of arguments, T and V, okay? T does not have any binding. It means there is no limit. T could be whatever. T could be fruits, could be numbers, could be string, could be whatever. Doesn't matter. It would be any generic. But V, it means the second argument, relates to what? The first argument. So it means these two arguments are somehow related to each other. So T would be whatever, but V would, would be what? T. Okay? So if T is numeric, V should be what?
Numeric.
Numeric too. Okay? If T is a string, V should be what? String, right? See that? Now, this means we have two types of arguments. Two types of arguments, T and V, right? The return is what? The return type of this method is Boolean. Is in T comma V. What this method does is searching through this array to find what? T. If it finds this item in this array, returns what? True. Otherwise, returns false. This is a very simple version or generic version of, let's say, sequential search, right? Following? So if this array has a bunch of names in it, this should be what? A name. If this array has a bunch of, let's say, numbers, let's say integers, this should be what? Integer, and so forth. Okay? Yes?
It would seem, I would think the array would be the upper bound, and the item X would be the potential subgroups.
No, my dear. We are talking about the type of the whatever is in the array, not the array itself. Okay? Because let's say you have an array like that with 5, 9, and 12, okay? And you have a number, let's say 6. 6 is T, and this is your array. So, as you're going to see here, I'm going to compare this again that. Is this equal? No. Is this equal? No. Is this equal? No. So 6 is not in this array. All I mean?
What if you had like 7.3 in your array?
Well,
So-
7.3, that's fine. Whatever, this is totally okay. It's totally comparable. No problem. Okay? Because, of course, you could make some limitations for them here too if you want. But in this example, 6.5 would work too. Let me write a code for you. You're gonna see that, okay? But if it was John, you could not compare it with array of numeric, right? Because John is something else. Okay. So let me write the rest of the code. So we understood almost what these are, right? Okay. For integer I equal 0, I less than y dot length, I plus plus, if x dot equals y sub I, right? Okay, return true. Otherwise, continue and finally return false. Okay. Okay. This is the method. Now let's make the rest of the program. I'm going to make main and go for some tests, right? Let's make main and go for test. Public. Static void main string args integer nums 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for simplicity. If is in 2, nums println 2 is in nums. That's obvious, right? Got 2 and nums are related, okay? Okay. String strs good and bad and nice. Okay. Array of bunch of strings. If is in bad, comma, strs, println, bad is in here. Okay, obvious. Okay. How about this? If is in nice, comma, nums, println, nice is in nums. This is a class, okay? When you compile this, compile, not run. When you compile this, compiler doesn't like this line. Okay? Gives you error message because they are not compatible. Foreign, they are not compatible. This is, compiler gives you error message, not Java runtime. If your method was not generic, okay, when you were making something like that and compile it, compiler would not complain at all. Compiler would accept that. But when you started running, at runtime you get error message, which is too late, right? One of the good features of generics is does not let compiler compile your program if there is some incompatibility, okay? Doesn't let your program get into runtime and at runtime something happens, right? Okay, at runtime it's too late. These days, computers are a big part of airplanes, cars, and something. Airplanes is running at some point, or is that runtime? Some problem arises, airplane's going to crash. So it's too late, right? So even the compiler does not let this happen. Okay, compiler does not let this happen. Okay, this is very, very. So you go on to go for for variety of testing to see what is gonna pass this test, what is not gonna pass this test, and so forth. This means T and V should be the same, or T should be the same as any subtype or subclass of T. Okay? Following? You remember discuss what subtype or subclass is? So, if, for example, T is subclass in some types, right? If, for example, T subclass and subclass, it be the same. Okay? Following? if, for example, okay, let's put it this way. How about if I put 2.5 here? 2.5 here. It's going to work or not?
That'll work.
It is going to work. Okay, because the upper bound is what? Exactly. Okay, so really interesting. Play with that and see which one is not going to work, which one is going to work, and a little bit learn about it. Okay, it's really, really good. Guys, I want to interrupt this to tell you something, because lots of questions are coming to me, and I want to just give you one short answer and after continue. I think I have already mentioned in this class, one of the problems with testing all of these programs is you need to write a complete program, right? From A to Z, right? Compile it and run it to see what's happening, right? You cannot just write 1 or 2 lines and test it, because it's not going to work, okay? Let's say you want to just make this method to work, and nothing, you don't want to write a complete program. You just want to make this and test it. So it means you want to write this only, okay? But it's not gonna, it's impossible, right, in Java. I have made a very good running, actually very good environment for my employees, not for you guys, but I ported, now it's available. It's called Interactive Java. Test it, you're gonna like it. Interactive Java is a program that allows you to just type any part of a program and it's going to run. You don't need compilation, you don't need to run it separately, you don't need to write a full-fledged class, just whatever is needed, okay? So, for example, just type IJ, and you're going to get into text editor, just type this, okay? And after, go for test. As simple as this, okay? You don't need to write a complete program. Even 1 or 2 lines would be perfectly all right. Understand what I'm talking about? Let's say you want to learn about the date class. Just do like that. Date, D equal new date. Okay, and now just use PD. Even P is system.out.println. Instead of using very long name, system.out.println, just type what? P. And it's going to accept it, okay? And that is going to be a program, okay? In IJ is going to run. Imagine you wanted to do it in the regular Java. You have to write a complete program. Import, util, all of those. You don't need, just, it does it, okay? It is extremely useful. And I put IJ for you in our public directory, okay? All you could do is just copy IJ to your home directory or wherever you are on Hills and do it. If you wanted to even copy it to your computer, you could do that, but make sure that your computer has IJ written entirely, not entirely, in Ruby and Java. So you have to have Java compiler and you have to have Ruby compiler available, okay? Both of them are available on Hills. So play with that and see, if you just type IJ followed by H, you're going to see at least 20 options are coming up. There are more than 20 options available for IJ that you could use. IJ has a bunch of methods of its own, like P, to simplify that. So you could say, for example, IJ dash C, and it's going to give you the listing of all of the methods available for you. Okay? It does a lot of reflection stuff that you want. If you want to get into any class and see what is inside it, IJ allows you to do reflection. Okay? Check the methods of any class, check the constructors of any class. It does really good reflection. Okay? So it's available for you. Why not take advantage of it? Okay? IJ is in your public directory and good. Some of you send me email. I was looking at public directory and I saw something is called IJ. What's that? Now I'm telling you what it is, okay? It's a program that's made for running Java interactively. RJ stands for interactive Java, that you don't need to do any compilation, any running like that. You don't need to write a full-fledged program. There is no import necessary at all. No import you need, okay? All you just put part of the program and that's it. Ready to run. Okay? Okay. So this was a good example. Do you remember I made a constructor and I put this for you, constructor. I said, for example, public do it as a constructor, and I said, do you remember that? And I said, this is wrong, okay? And I said, one approach is you do it like that. And do whatever you want, right? That is okay. But there is another kind of constructor that I did want to discuss, and that is giving you how to make really generic constructors, because without that, you cannot use this when you're creating constructor, right? You get compiler error. But what is allowed in your constructor when you are creating that? Okay, let's talk about that. Okay, so this is okay. This is not okay. Not okay. So far, so good. This is the only thing we have learned about constructors so far, right? So let's a little bit get into this subject more detail and see how it's going to work. I'm going to make a very simple class for you. I call it demo gen constructor, demo generic constructor, and see how generic constructor is going to work for you. Okay? Let's do that. Pay attention, this is a very good example. Class demo generic constructor. Okay? Private double val variable. Okay? Let's make it. Okay, let's stop here and talk about what's going on. This simple class has one constructor and one method called showback, and there's only one private variable. Okay. Now look at it. First of all, what is that? In front of the constant, what is that?
That's mean the T is gonna extend the numbers.
You know the constructor do not have any return type. So this is definitely not return type. Okay? This is the type of the
Argument.
variable argument, right? So we have an argument is called T, type T, and the name of argument is what? Arg, type T. So you have to specify what type T is. Otherwise, the compiler is going to give you error message if you don't specify it, okay? So you're saying that T is what? Numeric.
Numeric.
That's what you're saying, okay? You're saying T is numeric, right? Can you remove this and come over there and do this? Say T extends number arg? No, you can't. You can't. You cannot say T extends arg, extends number here. You cannot do that. Whenever you are with a method, right? Whenever you are working with any method or constructor, the type or types of your argument should be at the beginning of your method or constructor, not inside. So here, right? See that? This is very important. This is a type or types of your argument. Argument of your constructor. Okay? Clear? Okay. Now compiler know that T should be what? Any numeric. Okay? And since it is numeric, look at it. Private is what? Double. So by using double value, I am converting that to what? To double. And I'm going to use show val to show it. Okay? Okay. So let's go and make a main. See how main is going to work. Okay? This is our method. This is our class. Now let's make main. Not main, I should make another class. Let's make another class. Okay? I'm going to make a class called demo class. Since demo gen const is not a generic class, this class is not generic either. Okay, there is no need to be generic. Public static void main and args. Okay. Demo gen constructor DGC equal demo demo and constructor of. Is it okay or not?
Yep.
Yes, because the upper bound is what? Number, and 100 is enough, right? Demo. Gen const DGC1 equal new demo gen const Is it okay? Yes, is it okay? EGC dot show val DGC1 dot show val and okay. One of the very good things about this example is demo gen const is not a generic class, but its constructor is. Isn't it interesting? This is not a generic class, but the constructor is. Very interesting, isn't it? See that? It is possible that you have a regular, non-generic class, but the generic constructor. Okay? I'm going to make one generic interface for you, just to remind you how to make generic interface for you. Okay, I gave you very little example about it last week. Now let's do this. Okay. Generic interface. Interface. Min max. I want to make this generic, so we're going to have T extends comparable you remember last week I said when you're using extend, you could extend classes, you could extend class, only one, but you could extend as many interfaces as you want, right? You remember last week I gave you for that? So in this example, we are extending the interface. T T X. Okay. This is the interface that you need to, if you want to use it, you need to implement min and max, right? Clear? Okay.
Mass is a method.
Pardon me?
Is mass a method?
Oh, my mistake. Thank you. This one semester when I was teaching that, I gave this and I said, use a class or make a class to use this interface. So you should have said class demo implements what? Min max, whatever, okay? And after you have to implement min and max in your class, okay? Whatever min or whatever max is. Okay, let's see. Would you like to show you how to solve that problem, or you're going to do it yourself? This was a question on final exam. Make a class to implement this.
Oh, yes.
Would you like to give an example, or you can do it yourself? Huh?
Example.
Okay. So if you wanted to do it for maybe a couple of minutes, don't sit on, don't sleep, don't discourage me, but I write it down for you. Otherwise, if you could go home and do it yourself, okay? But I think if I do it, it's better for you, right? Okay. Let's implement min-max. Okay. See how it's done. So this is the interface, right? Now let's go for min-max class. I call it my class. Whatever it is, my class. And this definitely should be what? Generic, because we are implementing T extends comparable T implements min max T. Okay? Guys, you're going to learn a lot by looking at how I am doing this job for you. Okay? This is a really good example. Okay? You cannot switch this around. It means you cannot put this stuff here and put T here. You know why? Because compiler reads from left to right. It's going to come over here, and at this moment, compiler should know the binding or limitation for T, right? If you do not, if you just put T here and come over there and say T extends comparable, compiler right away to the error message. Okay? It says you are using T here without making limitation, right? You don't give a boundary of T here. So you should give a boundary in here, and after that, use in your interface, in your implement. Switch them around is not gonna work. Try it yourself, see what I'm talking about, okay? Switch them around, see what kind of error compiler is gonna give you, okay? Okay. So this is the very first one. It was actually very easy questions for me, because when I was correcting students' answers, I was just looking at the header or the first line of the class. If it was not correct, that's it, stop it. I was not continue because I knew the rest of it was wrong, right? Even compiler doesn't let compile. So if this was correct, then I would go and read the rest of the solution. Otherwise, it's good. Okay. Clear? Okay. Now, let's get into that. I think it's going to be the last example for tonight. T I am making an array. Array values, type of it what? T. Okay. And now we're gonna have my class. T, I'm gonna make an array. Okay. The constructor. Is O. Constructor is made, okay? Perfect. Now we're gonna make min, we're gonna implement min and max, okay? Min, it means what? We have an array, we want to find the smallest number in the array, and we have max, it means what? We have an array, we want to find the largest number in the array, okay? So, let's do it this way. Public. T min. So this is going to find the smallest number in the array, which is pretty simple. We're going to loop over it and do the job. V equal vals of 0 for integer I equal 1, I less than vals dot length, I plus plus, if vals of I dot compare to V less than 0, then V equals y. Return V and job is done. Guys, pay attention to this line, okay? Some of the students put this, if it is less than, it's just a, if the middle letter, if val sub I less than V, then do that. Less than doesn't work, right? But less than is only working for certain data type. This is generic, right? Look at, this is generic, right? That is generic. If you use if vals sub I less than V, then V equal vals sub I, it doesn't work like that. Okay? You have to use this. This method compared to is gonna decide what the result is gonna be, right? You cannot use less than sign. Less than sign is only for numbers, right? But not for any other data type. Clear? Okay. What's gonna happen if I give you a bunch of strings? Less than is not gonna work anymore in this case, right? You have to be careful about that. So this is the reason that compare to is very useful here, okay? Okay, the second time I'm talking about compare to tonight. Let's go and make a max to complete this program, and that's about it, okay? Public. You could try it on your computer to see how it's gonna work. T max. T V equals vals sub 0. See, everything is generic. I'm picking the first element of the array and assign it to V. What is the type of V? T. I didn't say integer, short, long, double. So everything should be generic. Okay. It's very simple, the same as the other one, but for completeness of our discussion, I am implementing max for you as well, which is a couple of lines, and that's at 4. Let's change the color. Let's change it to red, suppose it's better. integer I equals 0, I less than val.length. I plus plus. If vals of I dot compare to v greater than 0 equal vals of I. This one was less than, the other one is greater than, because we're talking about max.
So
Okay.
is there supposed to be 0 or 1? Init I.
Oh, my mistake, sorry, guys.
Mhm.
My mistake, okay? It should be 1. Return v, and that is the class that implements min and max. Okay? Okay? And finally, I'm going to add a couple of more lines to just show you how to test this, right? And that's it, how to test this class. So we're going to make another class, which is very small, just to test our my class, okay? Because that's a generic, I want to show you how to create object of this and go for tests, right? Okay. Let's change the color to another color. Okay. Let's go for test drive. Class, demo, my class, okay. Let's create a couple of arrays. Integer I nums stands for array of nums, for numbers. 3, 6, 2, 8, for example, 7, whatever it is. And character, let's make another character. Character CHS equals P, and let's say W. Okay? Let's create a constructor. My class integer MC equal new my class unknowns. Look at the argument is array, and my class, character, MC1 equal new, and the CHS here. So two objects are created, MC and MC1, okay? And then max in noms equal plus MC dot max. Just find the largest one. Print ln. Min in noms equal plus MC dot min, and a couple of more lines. Print ln max in CHS equal plus MC1 dot max, and finally print ln min in CHS equal plus MC1 dot min, close. Okay. Okay, so far so good. Okay. Anybody has any comment or question about this? This was a good example, right? When I discuss about containers, okay, collections in general, you're going to learn a lot more about generics, okay? So the story of generics is not finished. It won't be finished by tonight, okay? We're gonna come back next time, and when I start talking about collections, I'm gonna again go back to this subject and talk about a lot of generics, because all of the collections are generics, all of them, okay? And you're gonna see a lot of generic stuff, okay? So this was for tonight. Thank you for keeping up with me and not sleeping. Now time to sleep, okay? I already told you that next week we are going to have exam, midterm exam. Okay? I have not assigned any homework tonight, right? The reason for that is next week is a midterm week, and most of us have different exams to participate. So I do not want that doing the homework again add more complexity to your life, right? So next week I'm gonna give you the new homework assignment, but not tonight, okay? So all we see each other next week is for two reasons: midterm exam and talking about collection, okay?